feel free to, drop in a chat. We'll be able to answer the questions as we go on. But I just want to let you know that we've done it. We're consistently doing it at a high level as we speak today. So this is not just like a fly-by ship that we just, we went to freaking AI and grabbed all this information. It's all actually useful information that we're doing. So hopefully you hear one tip, one trick that you can use. And one of the main things that Dean and I had made is we've been coached year after year after year. We have multiple coaches, so we get training from everybody else, and we kind of just implement what they say. And now we're just sharing our secrets.
I think, Rich, you have like three coaches now, like something like that. So anyway, but like here we go. Right, and I'm in for all my Hoboken, Jersey City peeps. That's where my location is. Okay, here we go. So I want you, if you guys can write this down, this is going to be your framework for the call. Okay, because the whole point is, how did we get here? And by the way, I just want to be very clear about who we are. So when I started in the business, I was on a team for the first 7 years of my career. Okay, the first 7 years of my career, I was on a team. I was a buyer's agent. That's how I got started. And then the last 7, 8 years, I've been on my own, making this work out. And I had to systematize something. And so this is what we came up with. The first point is the plan system. So PLANN. Now, you might have heard of the plan without the extra N, but there's a reason why there's an extra N on there, which you could see here. So so this is what it looks like, right, guys? Prospect, lead follow-up, appointment, negotiating, and then nurture those relationships. Because I think a lot of us, now I'm not talking about nurturing your leads. I think we have a very misconception about nurturing people for lead flow. That's a different conversation. We're gonna get to the lead follow-up, how to be a master at that. But from the perspective of what should you be doing throughout the day? Now, I don't know, I can't see a show of hands or any, like right now, I don't know exactly what this looks like, but here's the reality, right? Is that I don't know who's on a team, who's individual, who's solo, and what does it look like on this call. But what I will say is that this is for anyone who's still in production. If your main role, I'm not talking about sales managers, I'm not talking about team leaders here, but if your main role is to sell homes for a living still, and you are 100% in that seat, you need to be involved in these 5 things. This is it. This is all we should be focused on. Now, each day is going to look a little bit different. So what does it look like, right? Some days, what if you have no appointments? Okay, so that's maybe 3-4 hours or maybe an hour or two that you're not going on an appointment for that day. Okay, fine. Negotiating, how long does that really take? I mean, if you go back and forth with obviously an agent, with a seller, with a buyer, etc., you go back and forth maybe 15 to 30 minutes at most if you actually like put it all together. Your lead follow-up. So this is one thing I want you guys to understand. Lead follow-up is a prospecting source. Write that down, please, because this is such a critical point. We kind of like casually lead follow-up. And when we get to this lead follow-up section of this talk, I mean, no more being casual. After today, please tell me you're not going to be casual about following up with your leads. Okay? But sometimes we don't have a lot of leads to follow up with in that day, in our day. And then nurture is your past clients. Nurture is your centers of influence who have given you a referral. So I look at 2 different things. We look at repeat customers, and we look at people that are in our centers of influence that have actually given us referrals over the years. And those are the ones that we're going to be nurturing. But let's say you've gotten your 554, whatever you do like throughout your prospecting time, let's say, okay, and you get into the appointments, there's no appointments, you have nothing to negotiate, you got no leads to follow up on, and you've nurtured everyone in your database. What's left? Prospecting, isn't it? Right? Or lead generation, having conversations. So however you want to call it, or whatever you want to say when it comes to this. But this is the framework of how every agent, so the 5 agents I have on my team, this is what I'm teaching them every single day. If you live in this, think about nothing else. Don't be distracted. There's shiny pennies everywhere. Yes, I'm all about social media. Trust us. You can go to our YouTube channel. You can see us. We're all over the place. But that happens later. This is a foundational talk today, okay? Second point is anything you do needs to happen consistently over a period of time so that you can start to compound your efforts. So I've never heard anyone say this in any coaching training companies out there. So that's why Rich and I are going to talk about it today, which is that, yes, prospecting compounds. Just like when you make investments into the stock market, or you make investments into your skill set and anything in life. Guys, this is a compounding effort. Don't think that like, why, and so this is what I don't understand yet, because in the last 7 years, this is literally how we did it. We were not big team leaders. We're not big in recruiting. We never were until recently. And then thirdly is we don't have massive teams. This is individual production, selling at a high level. And so what I realize is that, but when we stop way too soon before the results even come. And I see agents that the prospect have a great day, they get all these leads. I mean, I don't know of an agent that comes to us and says, right, Rich, that like, they're like, hey, you know, like I prospected for the whole day. I actually got an actual like 1 or 2 leads, but then the next day they don't do it. And I'm like, what you literally got a result that day. Why aren't you keep on going with this, right? So it's just like you understand prospecting and lead follow-up compounds. And as you get better with your skills, you'll see that develop and you'll be blown away by what actually happens here. So this is your schedule for the day. So that's what the framework really is. So the schedule for the day, the hour by hour schedule. Has anyone ever done, and I can't see anything right now because I'm presenting, I'm in present mode right now, but just put down if you guys have actually done an hour by hour test of your schedule. Because that's the first thing I do with any coaching client, with any type of client that is, or a client, but more of a agent on my team. First thing I do, give me what you're doing right this second, right now. That if I were just to shadow you for an entire day, what are you doing? By the way, you know that you guys have 2 days in one day? I don't know if you guys realize this, right? Yeah, Rich knows what I'm talking about. This is what it is. You have a 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. day, and then you have a 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. day. And so I want to know from 5 a.m. to 12 p.m., what is every agent doing on the team? And what are we doing? So hour by hour, from 5 to 6, 6 to 7, etc. And you do this and you build it out over time. Because if you've never done an hour by hour test of your own schedule and what you're doing, you'd be surprised how much money you're leaving on the table. So going into the doctorate of lead follow-up. So, okay, so this is now the tactful things that we're going to talk about. Now that I've gotten the foundation, the mindset of what you should be doing every single day, what the agents on your team, if you are a team leader, should be doing every single day, is that this is what look at the first point. I shared this with my team and our organization in here at EXP about a month or so ago. And I was shocked at how many people do not pin their leads in their text messages. Let me ask you guys a question. Let me see if I can get out of this for a second. Okay, yeah. Well, anyway, I can't see it right now. But if you guys understand, like when you guys have an Android, or it doesn't matter, an iPhone, you should be able to pin your conversations via text on your pin, right? Because look, we have all the CRMs and everything, right? We have Follow Up Boss. We have all these KV Core. We got everything. But do you check it every hour on the hour? But what do you check every minute of the day? Usually your text message threads. So one little hack of lead follow-up, when you have people, if you look at my phone, which I'll show you guys, I have no problem with that. Look at this. So I have here, I don't know if you could see this. I have 6 people that I've pinned on my phone that I know every day, whether they're on my schedule to call or not, I'm saying, what can I do to get a hold of this person today? If they're legitimately a lead. But that's what we're going to get to next. And this is the last point I'll say on this, and I'll let Rich take over for a little bit, which is that your timing is more important than the closing word tracks that you're using. Let me repeat that, right? Your timing of when you're following up is actually more important than this magical words that you're going to use. Now, don't get us wrong. We listen, and we've been trained on scripts and dialogues. But if you notice that, like when you follow up on different leads, that sometimes it wasn't even like you said anything like that brilliant, but all of a sudden you got an appointment or you got a listing. Why is that? Because the timing was more important. And this is where it becomes, there's a behavioral side to lead follow-up. It's just like, okay, as an example, I think Rich said this the other day too. He's like, Dean, you said this before, and I never thought about it. And it was like, he's like, but the someone that I was calling and I was doing my lead follow-up per my schedule around like 11, 12 o'clock was never answering me. And then Rich, what did you say again? It was like he picked up at the same exact time that you originally got him on the phone to get a listing appointment, right?
Yeah, so Dean was like, "Hey, listen, you should start paying attention to patterns." So I was like, "All right, let me go into my CRM system." So I don't use the pin system. I use strictly Follow Up Boss, but I had it like pinned out differently on my CRM. So I went back and I was like, "All right, I see when I talked for 4 minutes, 7 minutes, 2 minutes, and I can see when I 30 seconds, 30 seconds. I mean, I just called, dropped the voicemail real quick." So I went back and I was like, "All right, what time was this?" It was 1:50. Next time 1:51. Next time 1:55. I was like, this guy's picking up right around 2 o'clock. So what do? I called the guy on a Friday at the same time. He picked up, knew my name, said, "Hey, what's up, Rich?" Had a quick conversation, met with him over the weekend. This is actually 2 week, not this past weekend, the weekend before, and met him with over that weekend, signed him up, and we move forward. So point is paying attention to that pattern. What are they? You call on them and they were shooting you a text message back. So then their pattern is they like text messages, right? You're calling them and texting them, you're not getting any information, and they're only responding via email. Well, then you know they're an emailer. So you got to pay attention to what platform that they're very comfortable on. So that was his point, and finish up, and then I got my stuff to you.
Yeah. I mean, so look, stop trying to talk people into being open to the opportunity. I think so many of us, and I hear people on our PhoneWare community that we also have a Facebook group there, but we'll talk about that later. But basically, I'm hearing a lot of people and agents when they're prospecting and they're actually on the phones and they're excited, they're doing it, and they have someone for real, is that over time, you guys will realize to understand, to notice who's real and who's not. And can I tell you though, it's like a lot of people try to with like, I have no interest in doing anything. Oh, that's interesting. Are you thinking like in a year or two, or what are you thinking? Or you go into some other, other piece of the conversation. The point is that stop trying to follow up on people that, when they tell you, I saw the comment before that, which was great, Mary, about diapers and downsize and death and all these different things, right? Like in terms of motivation, these are reasons to sell, which I think is great. And a lot of times people have that. But when it comes to a timeline perspective, do you know there was a chart that I want to send to you guys, that there is a chart that it says people that are doing 25 deals or less a year following up on leads that will convert in 6 months' time. And the superstars that are doing over 100 deals a year are following up on leads that will make a decision, they'll have the ability to, in the 7 to 10 days right after that call. So the question I would have is, are you going deep enough on that so that just to see if there's a smokescreen there, if they actually have some sort of, maybe trust issues and they don't want to get into it. And we actually show a lot of agents about how to do that. And I'll go into the art method later as well. But that's really what it comes down to. And as you are doing this in the right timing and the right frequency, and you build that familiarity, what happens is that trust automatically, psychologically builds up. And instead of convincing people to do something, like when you call an expired and they say, no, we just took it off the market. Oh, that's so interesting. Right? I mean, like, tell me more about that. Like, what I saw you were on the market for 68 days, but how was your activity level when you guys had it listed? Right? That's my line. At least that's my second line that I use no matter what they say, to kind of get an idea of what that is. And the more people I will say about lead follow-up that give you resistance, or when they give you pushback, those are the people that need the most help, that you need to stay in the pocket and keep on pressing in a very polite and aggressive way, which I call, and Rich calls, progressive. So Rich, you can finish us up and lead follow-up.
Yeah, so progressive actually means you're being polite and you're being aggressive at the same time. So you're just blending those two together and just reading like the very, very fine line when you're conversing with somebody, right? Because at the end of the day, you're gonna think that most homeowners, they don't want an aggressive agent, but that's actually the complete opposite, right? They actually want somebody that's gonna take charge, right? If they're a driver personality, then in your driver personality, like, okay, you might clash heads, so you might have to kind of just fall back and go back to your secondary personality style. But let's just say at the end of the day, like when you go to the doctors, right? You sit down, you say you're sick, doctor sits there and just drills you with questions, right? You just don't sit down and like, okay, you're like, hey, I have a headache, and the doctor's like, oh, well, you got cancer. You're like, wait, what the hell? Like it went from something mild to something extreme, right? So at the end of the day, the sellers, they want you to ask questions, right? If they're giving you objections and they're giving you the rejection part of the business, right? That could mean that they're actually interested in you. They want to see how you handle the objection and how you kind of walk them down the line. So always remember, right? At the end of the day, aggressive agent is always going to win, right? And I don't mean by aggressive like you're calling them at 9 a.m., 9:05, 10, 9:10, and all of a sudden 9:30, 9:45, like being, basically annoying. We're not being annoying. We're just being aggressive, like following on the timelines, cutting it in half when they say to call back, so on and so forth, right? So the unsexy part of this whole business, right, is literally just picking up your phone and having conversations, right? So many people, like, look, like Dean said, we hide behind, now, like we do a lot of social media. Yeah, we have Fellow, we have, SEO work, we have our websites, we have our landing pages, we have our click funnels. Now we have everything, right? But at the end of the day, we were taught and trained from day one in this industry to where we are today, how to drink the water, right? We got led to the water and we're going to continue drinking it. So no matter what happens in the marketplace, we're going to be able to know how to pick up the phone. We're going to be able to know how to get phone numbers from somebody, and we're going to know how to build a database. And that's how we successfully built our business over the last, 10 plus years doing this way, right? So in follow up, right? Everybody says this, you probably heard it, it's a cliche, right? All the money is made in the follow up. And that is a true fact. The likeliness of you calling expired or for sale by owner and get them on the phone day one is you're going to get them on the phone. But getting a scheduled appointment that's going to get a signed contract in that one day, different ball game, right? So you gotta break them down. So one hack is, does anybody have any issues getting people on the phone? Number one, like let's say you actually do pick up the phone, you do prospect, and somebody comes in, it doesn't matter, through the internet source because they clicked on what's their house worth, or you're calling expired. If you're having trouble and you want somebody to actually pick up, number one, all your numbers should be registered. If you're doing burners or anything like that, have your phone registered, because then it won't come up spam, right? We got to eliminate that first. But let's say that is eliminated. Let's say your number is whitelisted, you're picking up the call, but all they see is just, the area code mixed with the phone numbers, right? Well, a little fun hack is right before you're about to call somebody, shoot that person a quick text message, like about 30 seconds to a minute before you made this call. Shoot him a text message. Hey, my name is Rich with EXP. I'm going to be calling you in about a minute. And then boom, hit send, wait 30 seconds, and then make that phone call. What's going to happen is anybody who has an iPhone, it's going to come up, maybe Rich Realtor or something like that. However you have it set up, it's going to literally say suggest it. So that person will automatically think, oh, wow, I must know this person. So let me pick up the phone. So that'll enhance some of your pickup. And then if you don't want to shoot a text message, it does work the same thing through email. So if you shoot a quick email and you have in your signature block, your phone number in there, it might pop up maybe so-and-so as well. So that's just a way that if you want to get somebody on the phone, right? But listen, the fortune is always made up in the follow-up, right? I had a client once tell me, multiple clients, and I'm sure we've all been there, I am not ready, right? And most agents will just be like, you know what, I'm just going to move on. I'm not going to talk to this person. But what do? I followed up with them for 6 months. I listened to what their concerns were. As I kept following up, right, I got to the point when they were getting finally ready, right? And I'm following up with checking in. I'm building that trust with them. I'm adding the value. And basically, what you're doing over the time, you're just starting building trust. You're building that rapport with them. You're building that banter back and forth to the point where if they do pick up the phone, you're on a first name basis, right? And you're going to blow everybody out of the water. So all the money is in the follow up. Somewhere on here on my paper, I have that it's not going to be one time. It's not going to be two time. Normally, after the fifth time, that's when you start getting your success. Fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. Like you have to go through some, football numbers over here to be able to get yourself into the level of where you're going to sit in front of them. That's all we're trying to get. We're trying to sit in front of them and present, right? Now, most people, why don't they follow up? You do all the hard work. You call the expired, you call the for sale by owners, you call the for rent by owners, you circle prospect, just listed, just sold, whatever. You did internet blast on Facebook, you did everything. Now you have a lead, you have a number, you have information. They gave you something. Hey, I'm not doing anything until the end of the year because I'm retiring. You have some type of information, but why don't you follow up with them? All right. And most people don't follow up with them because they fear that rejection, right? When you fear that rejection, you're getting into your head. You're giving yourself a negative affirmation. Oh, they don't need me. Or, oh, maybe it's a little bit too early. I'm bothering them. Things like that. If you replay that in your head over and over and over and over, guess what? It's what you put into your head is exactly what you're going to become. So you got to kind of flip that. You got to make that positive. Like, hey, I am the great agent. They're going to pick up, so on and so forth. Different class, but like in our head is, yeah, that's where you have to build it, right? So the fear of rejection is costing everybody hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, right? Think about the last time that you hesitated to call somebody back. Just think about it, right? Maybe you told yourself they're not interested, right? That tiny little bit of momentum of hesitation is what lost you that deal, right? Because every no, remember, gets you closer to that yes. The best agents in the industry, or just best sales agents in general, they do not fear the rejection, right? Because they chase it, because they know that on the other side is a $10,000, a $15,000, $20,000 commission check for them. All right. So going into the class, we said we're going to give you a doc sheet, right? Part number one that I wrote down is, now that the class is in session, the difference between amateurs and masters, right? So most agents treat follow up like a chore. It's not a chore. At the end of the day, it's what's going to get you a commission check, right? So the pros treat it like a degree. At the end of the day, something that they study, they refine every day, master it daily. So what they're doing, if they're saying something one way and it didn't land, they're going to revisit that same saying and they're going to kind of modify it, right? That's where role play kind of comes into play right here. Never role play on your clients, role play on a one-on-one and do it at a very high level. And then that's going to come second nature. Just like, somebody asks you your name, you know your name, your last name, your middle name, your birthday, everything that you rolled off the top of your tongue. That's how you should be in the real estate sales side, right? So then the not so sexy part, you got to role play, right? So
hey, Rich, we have a question, I think, from Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, for the follow-up, let's say you've called it 3 times already, they're not answering. So at what point are you putting them in your CRM? All right, I need a follow-up 3 days from now, a week from now. How are you doing that?
So we call it, so is it a fresh lead or is it a lead that's that you're following up, like you had one call already?
Yeah, you had one call already.
Okay, so I actually say both ways. So if a fresh lead comes in, regardless of what it is, we call it the 3-2-1 rule. So within the first, hopefully 5 to 10 minutes, if not hour, 2 hours, whatever, you're gonna make one phone call. Then you're gonna wait, and then I normally wait anywhere between. I'm a little bit more on the aggressive side. I call 3 times right in a row personally, and then I'll call one more time spread out throughout the rest of the day until they pick up. But at the end of the day, it's like we call, we wait a little bit of time, maybe half an hour, we call again, and then we wait a little bit of time, we call a third time. So that's 3 phone calls within the first day. This is a fresh lead. Then if they don't pick up on a phone call, then we'll drop them a quick text message. Text message kind of gives it away of who you are, so they may actually just block you. And then we shoot them an email too. We try to get in contact one way and just basically schedule a call to have a quick conversation. They don't pick up day one, day two, we play around with it. We either do it like 7:45 a.m., try to catch them right before they go to work. So we call it twice in that one day. So we call them a second time, some are scattered. Like lunchtime, we'll figure it out 12, 12:15, 12:30, 12:45, 1 o'clock. And then we'll try another time, maybe right after work, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, just depends how aggressive you want to. But this is somebody fresh that you can't get in. So we do 3, 2, 1. So day one's 3 calls, day two is 2 calls, day one is 1 call. And that's mixing, like I said, text messages and emails. That's if we were trying to get a hold of them. Now, if it's somebody that we've spoken to, now that's where we have different buckets. We have an A bucket, a B bucket, and a C bucket. These different buckets actually determine the level of motivation that when I was speaking to them, I actually categorize them in my head and I put them into this one bucket. So if I'm following up with them and they say, hey, listen, I listen to the motivation. Hey, I need to get to, we're in the East Coast, right? So I need to get to Florida. The reason why I need to get to Florida, my daughter is graduating high school in June. It is now April. We need to buy a property because I want to get her into, the state tuition over there. So it's a must. So I have a great idea. So like that person's like an A person. It's like, all right, I need to get a hold of them somehow, some way. So their level of motivation is high. So I feel like they're going to pick up. At the end of the day, you got to think outside the box. If you can't get a hold of the first person you were talking to, guess what you're going to do? You're going to go find the wife's phone. So say you're talking to a husband, then you're going to go find the wife's phone number. Then you can make a call to them and you can try to get them on the phone. And then if you can't get them on the phone, you got to kind of try to, once again, think outside. What if I was in a hospital, I need to get in touch with, my wife, for instance, and I can't get a hold of her. Who am I going to call to make sure I get a hold of her? Am I going to call her brother, her sister, whatever, her aunts, uncles? I'm going to try to figure out. I know it's a little extreme, but my point is, like, you have to think outside the box, because if they're not picking up, that just means that's the wrong time that you're calling. If that has a high level of motivation, if it's a low level of motivation, they're gonna pick up that call when they're ready. So you might be making a lot of pointless calls, day in and day out. So I would just make sure you're categorizing somebody like an A, and making sure that you're not following up with somebody who's a C that's like told you what you want to hear, but they're like, oh, well, if I get the right price and I am going to, net the most money, and when the rates fall down to 4%, then I'm going to sell. Like that kind of camouflage, and now you're wasting your time following up with that third person instead of following up with that A person that you need to get on the phone. You need to try multiple different ways. Like I said, unfortunately, it's not the easiest, but if they're not picking up their phone, we're trying to go to number 2, number 3. And then if I do get a hold of the wife, I'm like, hey, listen, can you bridge me in with the husband? Or, hey, listen, can we schedule an appointment? I want to get in front of you. And then out here in New Jersey, we're allowed to door knock. Actually, Dean is in vertical living, so he's not allowed to door knock. So the part on Jersey I'm allowed to door knock. So if you really want to get out there, then what you do is you go there, go knock on the door, try to get a hold of them, drop them a note into the mail, see if you get a hold of them that way. We do different things too. We do like QR codes if you drop something in the mail. So hopefully they scan it and then I can kind of trap them in that way. And then guess what? Believe it or not, I have called the neighbors before and said, hey, listen, I've been trying to get a hold of so-and-so. They've been trying to sell their property. And guess what? We know one house, and I treat it like, hey, listen, they're selling their property, but I'm trying to get the listing out of them and see if they would be able to, give me a direction. And I'll be like, hey, listen, can you get so-and-so on the phone for me? And if they can get, because they're close, they can get them on the phone. I'll just, you grab the phone from that person and you say, hey, listen, hey, this is Rich, I'm at your house right now, blah, 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 and you try to go. So just get creative. There's no magic answer other than just how bad you want it at the end of the day.
And Matt, really quick, Rich, if I may, I'm sorry, but to your point, so your question, just to reiterate, was like, because Rich, those are all great points. Matt, you're saying, what do you do after you have a conversation with them, and what should be your cadence after that, correct?
Yeah. Again, thank you so much for that, Rich. That was awesome. Yeah, Dean. So I think all of us agents, let's say open houses, you have amazing conversation with someone, and they're pretty hot, within 3 months they want to do something, and great. You get their info, you get their email, you call them that day, you send them a video text, no response. You call them the next day, nothing. You send them an email, nothing. And I think, like most of us agents, we kind of just get discouraged and we give up on that lead. What would you guys do?
So right. Thank you for that, Matt. This is what I wanted to kind of put the framework on this, which is that there's really, okay, so if it's an open house lead as an example, right? And you're saying that they're kind of almost on the verge of ghosting you, right? Like they're almost there. Okay. My question is, I'm assuming that this was you're trying to reach them after you've done an open house. So you met them just like with other people there potentially, or if it was a private session, I don't know. But let's just go with the idea that you don't have enough information on that person to know how to follow up yet. And what I would argue with everybody here on this call is that lead follow-up depends on what information you got on that last phone call from them. And what I have something is, it's called tracing the tree. You need to trace that tree. You have a tree of information that is flowing down on this particular lead. Now you said, well, what if they're hot in 3 months? Well, how do you know that? If they're hot to buy in 3 months, Do they want to start the process in 3 months, or they want to be closed and be done with in their new house in 3 months is my question. Because if that's the case, I got to figure out a way, to Rich's point, I would do everything in my power to talk to the wife, to the husband, and you figure it out. And you have to, what's called, be scrappy with lead follow-up. You cannot rely. I mean, there's so many great tech platforms, Matt, but we cannot sit here and rely so much on, when you have someone that hot, that you've deemed to be hot, and you don't have enough information. I would just argue, look, when you call them back, like, get an idea of, like, okay, I called them this time, that didn't work. And you have to think through this, right? It's like, look, if I called them at 8 o'clock in the morning, they didn't pick up, and I double dialed, by the way. By the way, lead follow-up is all double dials for the most part.
Triple.
Right? Or triple, to Rich's point. It's double or triple dials. None of this, like, single line and then just kind of go on. Depends. But my point is, Matt, is just like, I would just get in that mode of getting as much info from that first conversation you possibly can, so you know how to follow up. And I would argue it probably was some of those questions there to get in. Anyway, keep going.
All right, so whatchamacallit? So real quick before we hop into our method is, listen, repetition is the retention that is going to be the science that you're going to be staying on top of mind and relevant to the prospect when you're following up with them, right? So, like, we all hear commercials, we all hear the catchy ones. Sometimes you're talking to some people and it just registers in your head. That's exactly how you have to be with lead follow-up. You have to be valuable. You have to have touch points, and then you have to be, like, basically like a billboard. Like when you have a missed call from you, you want to see your number. They have a voicemail from you. They have a text message from you, an email from you. You want to be a billboard. At the end of the day, you just want to be this billboard, so that they're like, oh, well, I need to get a hold of this person if they're not ready right now, right? At the end of the day, next point is just be a professor in real estate. Just don't be the annoying person. And basically what that means is don't sound desperate. People smell that commission breath, right? Top percent of people who follow up, top 1% people who understand the follow-up game, they're just checking in, they're educating, they're adding value to that particular prospect. So you got to make sure you're adding all these touch points, right? And something like, hey, listen, I just recently sold a home in your neighborhood, right? You want to know what the value is for your house. Different things like that, different little catchphrases that's going to catch them. Because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is you're trying to have them associate real estate agent and selling their house with you, right? And remember, all this is, but you want to be a listing agent, right? This is transferable on the buy side, but this is all just trigger points that you want to have, right? Study the client like it's a final exam for yourself, right? You wouldn't want to walk into any test without having studying, right? So you have to not just blindly call them, right? When you're in your CRM system, you're documenting information. It's like, hey, you have to have the personalized touch, right? So when you're following up with them, hey, this is Rich with eXp Real Estate, whatever, that catch you at a good time. Pause, wait. They're going to say whatever they're going to say. But yeah, we spoke actually about XYZ. You want to get to Florida because, you're retiring at the end of the year. You want to get to the warm weather. Your wife needs it for whether her arthritis, so on and so forth. So now they're going to start putting two and two together. Like, wow, I actually did speak to this person. So I'm not going to hang up. I'm actually going to continue making the call, right? And then listen, the graduation part of it is you follow up until they're ready, right? You have to listen. Most leads do not convert on one call, two call. 80% of them or more are going to be at fifth call or greater, right? So you just got to remember, trust the process, stick to it, right? And then you're going to earn your own degree, right? So if you just implement this for the next 30 days and you try it and you treat it like any type of degree that's out there, or you're just winging it, just remember that if you just wing it, you're going to get the winging results. And if you treat it like, hey, it's your duty, your job, and you go deeper, ask deeper questions, you're going to end up having a great side. All right, Dean.
All right, cool. Last point of today is the ARP method. So I'm not sure if anyone's heard of this. Well, I haven't until I saw a video years ago, and I was like, this is it right here. And if there's anything that you can use to have your conversations in a way where the framework of a conversation with a prospect and a client should always look like this in some way, which is acknowledge, response, and pivot. So what does that look like? So Rich, just say anything to me.
Dean, I'm not ready to do anything right now.
Gotcha. So it sounds like, you're just not ready at the moment. And just out of curiosity, when you are ready in the future, Where are you planning on moving to?
I'm just
Done.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And that's it. So, right. So what I do, I acknowledge it. Could be, hey, that's not a problem. Hey, that's a great question. Whatever it is, that's the acknowledgement part of it. The response is you have to give a response. You sound like a pushy salesperson if you just go right into a question after they ask a question or they say a statement. That's where it goes. But true salespeople know that sales in what we're doing, guys, your team leaders are doing something different. They are marketing experts. It's a different thing. Sales, true sales at the highest level that we've learned is persuasion. It is not to push someone into something that they don't want to do, but how you get them to trust you even more in a conversation is acknowledging what they're saying, having a response to that. What my go-to is what you just heard me do with Rich, which is sounds like X. Therefore, when it does get all worked out, then what's the next step for you?
And remember, when you ask a question, you actually have to like pause and like take a sip of water, do something, because you actually need an answer back from them. And that awkward silence is going to be the most key part of the question you're asking, because you're just introducing like, hey, you need to answer what I just said, right? So it's that pattern interrupt that you have to be very conscious of.
Yes. And progressive. I talked a little bit about that, but right, that's being polite and aggressive. So that's what the art method is really what it comes down to. So as an example, I had a FISBO for 28 minutes this morning on our phoneware community that everyone heard me on the Zoom, okay? And it was 28-minute conversation. He constantly said to me, I don't see any value in agents. What can you do differently? I don't understand why we're even having this conversation, basically. And I got a legit qualified listing appointment for Saturday. Now, how did that happen? When in the beginning, in the middle, it's all about acknowledging, I'm responding, and I'm constantly pivoting. And it's like that word track jujitsu. It's like the Matrix. You're constantly doing this with these conversations. And you get better at that over time with role playing and different things. And you're genuine, you come from a place of contribution. It's really, really amazing. So in terms of sources and how to get numbers, I'm going to go off a little bit of a different path, Rich, if that's okay. I want you guys to look at True People Search. All right, if you guys are already using that, that's a free, completely free service. A paid service is called Forewarn. It's another good one. And these are how to get actual numbers of these people. So if you're looking for the wife's number, you're looking for different things, I'm giving you tactful stuff. Like this is, I really meant, Rich, I'm sorry to say, I want them to get a listing by the end of the week, okay? Right, I think we all want this for them. And so with that being the case, is that these are some things that you can do. And just going back to how the art method also would work even brilliantly, I'm going to give you another nugget that has worked for me. So does anyone with I can't say a show of hands because I'm not doing this live in person, but if does anyone ask for the price in their pre-qual with a seller before they go out and meet with them? I see some heads. Not, okay, cool. So if you're asking for a price, but sometimes they stonewall you and they say, well, you're the expert. You tell me what you think my house is worth. So Rich, if you can do this, I'm going to show them the 3-step method of how to get the price out of them every single time. Would you guys like that? Is that okay?
Yeah. So, Dean, listen, I appreciate it, but look, you're the professional. I don't know what my house is worth.
Totally. And as a professional real estate agent, I'm always looking at these prices every single day. So at the end of the day, it's all about making sure that we're going to come from a place of listing this to sell to a certain extent. But Rich, do you have any minimum expectations on what you think you can get on this house?
No, I'd rather not say. You tell me what it's worth when you come.
Oh, 1,000%. When I come in there, because I know you told me about all the updates that you've done with your house. I'm so looking forward to that, by the way. Okay. Now, did you see your neighbor's house? This was 124 Main Street. Did you see that sale?
Yeah, it sold for $750.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Well, my house is so much better than theirs. I did the kitchen. I did the bathroom.
Done. You see what I just did? That was a smooth way of getting a price out of him. He said, my house is better. I did X, Y, Y. So 750 is on the low end of what his expectations are. By how do you feel? And if there's anything I could say regarding the art method and just how we are communicating to clients, Now, guys, I'm not talking this way with Rich behind the scenes, like one-on-one when we're hanging out having a beer. This is stuff when we're trying to, when we are in selling mode. The how do you feel question goes so much longer than just saying like, hey, what are your expectations on price? What about this? What about that? It's like, no. Rich, how do you feel about moving by the end of the year, unless there's a financial advantage to doing something sooner? How do you feel about that?
Yeah,
Like, you can use that for anything.
People make decisions on emotion. They don't make it on logic, unfortunately. So it's how you when you're in the room with them or on the phone with them, how can you morph yourself from a conversation and getting them to align, like Dean said right here somewhere about using different word tracks, right? So when you're in the moment, right? It's how you build rapport, right? You build a rapport by asking the proper questions, right? You're going to either mirror and match, right? A lot of this is all what we call NLP talk, right? So it's just mirror and matching. It's like if you were to sit down with somebody, it's not like you should book an appointment with me today, but it's more, future pacing it. Well, when we meet, you'll see exactly what my last two homeowners, when they sold their property, and exactly what I did for them to get their property sold, right? Like you're just basically using yourself to work them down the line, right? And then you need to realign yourself back into the conversation. So a lot of people don't like to be pitched, right? It's like you go to the department store, doesn't matter which one you go to, you have no idea. You're looking for a white shirt, let's say, and you walk through the shoe section. Somebody says, hey, listen, can I help you? And you're like, no, I'm good. You'd rather walk around for 20 minutes aimlessly versus saying, yes, I need XYZ help. Where can I go? And they're like, oh, go down there, make a left, go up the escalator, and you're going to see on the right-hand side. So we all have that sales block, right? So it's like, how do you get through that sales block? The way you get through that sales block is by third-party story, all right? So a third-party story is like how you help somebody else do something and they overcame it, right? So they see that story, or it's just by asking a lot of questions. And the point is listening to their answer. Don't be ready to say the next question. You got to listen, because you might have to take that pivot right there. Be like, oh, I was going to go this way. Now I need to go this direction, and continue asking the question. So you just got to remember that a lot of this is pattern interrupts. You got to break. You got to be mindful of what you're saying, how you're saying it, because at the end of the day, people only remember 25% of the words that you say, but they remember how you made them feel. So it's not about the words that you're saying, right? It's not even about the tonality. I know tonality has a higher expectations than the words, but at the end of the day, if you make them feel good and you make them understand through rational thinking, but the way that they're feeling, you're going to see yourself close a lot more deals.
And Rich, just to close us out, I mean, I guess I just want to be very very open about this, because I feel like, Rich, you've done such great work on this, where, guys, Rich personally listed over 100 houses just like a year or two ago when we had a transactional recession. And so, Rich, if you don't mind, can you share with the group, like, is there anything specific that the last thing we'll say that you can share with everyone that has caused your results year after year to get over 100 listings personally? And we're not talking one development, 100 listings, individual sellers. How do you do that?
Yeah, so for me, it was the fact that you can, number one, believe that you can do it, because we all can do it. People get stuck. Like if you're doing 5 or 10 transactions, it costs the same amount. It is the same amount of effort to do that and to do 100 transactions a year. There's actually zero difference in the correlation between the two, because you're still making phone calls, you're still speaking to people. You just got to make sure that you're talking to a lot more people in a day, right? Like we never have a lead shortage of anything, right? But we have a way that when you're following up these people that are you're doing the exact intentions, right? But guess what? It's just being very to the point. It is making sure that they understand, right? But it's being consistent day in and day out. We wake up, or I don't know about Dean, but I wake up 5:15 in the morning. I hit the gym. I eat a healthy breakfast. I drink a ton of water throughout the day. I'm very light on my feet throughout the whole day. I don't have that afternoon-itis. And by 8 a.m., I'm on the phones, 8 to 12. Now it's 8 to 11, right? We took steps back in our businesses, but 8 to 12, I was on the phones and I was calling every person under the sun. I was having 40 to 50 conversations a day. And then I was just asking for people for the business. But the key was how I got listings signed on the spot. And I tested this because I would not say it. When I'm on an appointment, I would just literally ask for the business. I would say, based on what you heard today, do you feel comfortable and confident that I can sell your house? And I just wait for the answer. And if it doesn't matter if it's a no, I'd be like, all right, all you now have to do is simply sign the contract. And I kid you not, because I just asked one time, I beat out every other agent just simply because I would ask them, well, why'd you ask me? They're like, well, you're the only one that asked me to sign a contract. Because then sometimes when people are backs against the wall and they don't have, unfortunately, to tell you no, get the hell out of my house. The path of least resistance is, all right, let me get this guy out of the house. I'm going to sign the contract. So if you did a presentation the right way and you actually got to the end, you will legitimately have no objections and it'll be a natural end into the sale. But how I got so many transactions, yes, I got in front of a lot of people. That is absolutely a must. My closing percent wasn't anything crazy. It was only 73%, which is pretty decent. But you got to remember, there was still 30% plus that 28% of people that still did not want to work with me for one reason or the other, right? But the confidence is it compounds every day. Talk to people, ask for an appointment. Yes, make it your decision for you to cancel that appointment. So you stack wins every single day. So how do you stack a win? Is we go by 5 critical points. Is I wake up early. I work out daily. I drink a gallon of water. I talk to 25 minimum people before the end of the day. So if it's 6 o'clock at night and I only talk to 20, I'm not leaving this office or I'm not getting into my house until I find 5 people to talk to. How do you do that? You can talk to people at the grocery store. You can talk to people at Starbucks. You can talk to people in your database. You can talk to people that are your past clients. Like there's easy, cheap ways to get into this, but you need to be asking everybody somewhere throughout the day, hey, can I help you buy, sell real estate? Hey, can I help you buy, sell, invest? Can I help you buy, sell, lease out any of your properties, right? They have to they have to know what you do, and you have to be always asking that question. So as simple as it sounds and as easy as it sounds, literally ask for the appointment, right? Like a lot of people are asking for the appointment. So when you ask them for the appointment, you got to go 4, 5, 6, 7 times, like literally count. All right, there's my first no. There's my second no. My third no. And I used to keep pennies on my desk, and I would take a penny and I would move it over here every time I would close, and they would say no. And then I knew when it was getting heavier on the one side and lighter on the other side, I knew I was getting closer to a breakthrough. And that breakthrough was like just break them down just enough for them to say yes, meet with me, and then I'll call you back at a later date. I'll pre-qual you, and if you don't meet my pre-qualifications, then I'm just gonna say no. But I'd rather be in control with 2, 3 no's and 1 qualified person. And then guess what? There's 52 weeks in a year. Let's say you work only 40 weeks, right? And you can get on 1 a day. That's 40 transactions that you could potentially do. You get 2 of them, that's 80. And guess what? If you have a database of 1,000 people and you don't want to talk to strangers, then just naturally 10% of your business is going to come from your database, which I'm almost nearly half of my business today is my database. But I go to the country club. I play golf a lot. I get people's numbers. The number one way I get people's numbers is indirectly. I take my phone. I say, hey, listen, I'm going to record you taking your golf stroke right now. I go on with 3 or 4 or 5, 6 people sometimes, and I just take my phone. I video them. I'm like, hey, let me get your number. I'm going to send you this video that I took. Now, boom, I got somebody's number, and I'm just going to randomly call them one day. Hey, listen, it's so and so. You want to play golf? And then boom, I'm adding people into my database left and right. And you could do that any type of way, but huge database, 10% from your database, ask for the business. It's literally that simple.
Anna, you have a question. What's up, Anna?
Hi. So I started calling expires this last week, and I actually got a great deal of conversation with expired sellers. And people say, "Oh yeah, and I'm interested in selling for the right price, right?" And then they throw this insane overpriced number, and I know it won't sell for that price. And they say "Well, I've gone through listing this before for a couple times, so I don't want to list it again. If you have a buyer, bring it to me." So I get this with every single seller I talk to, not every single one, like 90% of them. So I kind of feel like, oh my gosh, what do I do the next step? Because number one, like they want a real unrealistic price. Number two, they don't want to put it on the market. They just want me to bring them a buyer. So I go, I'll pay you 1%, if you bring me a buyer off market. I said, that's great. I love to work for free,
Amazing. I mean, yeah, and Anna, you're such a great member of the phone warrior community that we have as well, and thank you for that, guys. Here's the Facebook group, but basically, it's a free Zoom that we have that you can plug into whenever you want and process with everybody. But Anna, to answer your question, it's about that's where I would dig deeper. So if you have them on the phone and they're saying to you, listen, if I get my price, I'll sell. Interesting. So like, let me ask, and then that's when I go to my second question, which I already kind of had mentioned, which is, well, how was your activity level when you were listed originally? Because the thing is, like, that's just a smokescreen. No one sells usually because of the price in residential. Commercial is a different story, right? But residential, for the most part, is an emotional move. There's something happening that is causing them. And if you dig deep enough, and you just find out they're just literally, it was about only the price, then like the next question would be, well, if you did get your price, how would that impact your life? Like, I would want to know like deeper. And then, Rich knows I really like going into this, like, deep with them. And so, but then just to kind of move the conversation forward, I would just stick to what we have, which is the 5 core seller questions, which is where, how, of course, what, and what they're doing. So like, as an example, it looks like this. If you say to me, so Anna, just tell me what those prospects told you.
Well, yeah, I don't want to list with you because I'm loyal to the previous listing agent. We have a established business relationship, and I don't want to take away from that.
Totally fine, and that is very respectable that you would even mention that to me, on this call. That means that you really value trust. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Absolutely. And let me ask you this, Anna, when you do eventually get this home sold, where are you planning on moving to?
Oh, this is a investment property. I'm just gonna exchange into something closer to me. This is too far.
It's just gotcha. So it's more of a. So let me ask you this: Are you just selling this because you want a 1031 into another opportunity?
Yeah.
You do. Okay, great. I mean, and ideally speaking, Anna, I mean, like, how soon would you like to get this property sold by?
I mean, I'm not in a rush. The interest rate is very high right now. So I think if next year when the rate drops, then I'll be able to get the price I want.
Gotcha. So you really think it's really market driven, is what I'm hearing you say, that is driving this property to not get the price that you had it listed for with the other agent. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Because it's what? Can I share with you a stat, Anna, that will just mind blow you away? Yeah. So in the last 3 months, do you know how many homes actually sold that were just like yours?
No.
11.
Okay.
All right. And you were and I'm looking at the numbers here. I'm seeing that you were on the market for about 68 days. Did you get any offers at all?
We got some offers. They were lowball, or the terms were really they were lowball or verbal offers, so no good offers. Yeah.
Gotcha. So no good offers. And this is, Anna, this is exactly why people like you meet with me, to just hear a different approach. And then, by the way, Anna, whenever we set up a time to meet in the next week or so, okay, it's always your decision. And the path of least resistance is with the same agent. But it would be smart, in your opinion, right, to obviously at least hear a different opinion. Would you agree?
Yeah, sure.
I agree. So how does tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock sound for you?
That works. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, I just want to interject something right here. So then I've had, like, this is kind of similar to the conversation I have with the seller, but then, they always bounce it back. Like, no, if I want to list it, I'll just list it on the market and I'll just be able to sell it. So I don't need to list it with you. Like, I get these like stonewalled answers that makes zero sense. So like, if you have a buyer, for 1%, I'll pay you. I'm loyal. You can see how loyal I am to my listing agent. So I'll pay you 1%, and I'll just bring me a buyer if you have one. So like, I don't need to list with you. If I want to list it, I could list it with my previous agent.
Well, Anna, listing is always an option, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just an option. You don't have to list the property for sale in order for you to sell it. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly why people like you at least meet with me to hear a second opinion, because you want the top maximum results of this getting on this property, correct?
Yes.
100%. I mean, how does this week sound for you? I have Friday open if that works for you.
Okay.
Like
So
whatever. It's
yeah.
like you just gotta be you're just being so it just being like you're just like flowing like water with these questions and these responses. It doesn't have to be the thing is, and I think also because again, we've talked at length with other things, and the one thing is a belief. You have to believe that the service that you're providing to these sellers is so massive that these questions are just little things that just kind of test and see if I have enough trust with this said person. You see what I'm saying?
So let's say, like Dean, you and Richard, you guys close a lot of deals every year, and you filter through like a lot of sellers. So I mean, sellers like that, do you drop them or do you keep working on
Yes.
it?
For
Drop
me,
them.
I drop them. I'm so quick to drop people
See,
because I
that's
don't
my
want.
question, because then this guy, I over the weekend I had a buyer off market, but it's through another agent in my office. So I said, okay, send me 4%. I'll schedule a showing if it's off market. I don't mind if I have a buyer, I'll throw them your way. But he's like, no, I'm not gonna sign anything. If you want. So at this point, I feel like, okay, I am wasting my time. So do I just drop? So do you filter through the people that are just way too difficult, and then move to somebody that you have a more quality conversation with? I mean, do you do that?
Rich?
Oh, listen, if I'm going to stay on the phone with them and I'm going to ask a lot of questions, and if the no is so strong, if the no gets stronger as the call keeps going, then I'm just kind of just going to dump them and I'm going to let it go. But if you're talking to them and their no is getting weaker as the conversation starts going, and I know that I have an avenue somewhere, whether it's right there in
Okay.
that conversation or it's a future follow up, then I'm going to kind of try to go in for the kill. But you just got to remember being simple, like simplicity is the key to everything when you're prospecting, right? Ask a question, wait. But if you're going to get somebody in the habit, get in the habit of saying yes. Like, hey, listen, are you opposed to meeting with me for 15 minutes to give you a totally different opinion of price? What would it's gonna be hard for them to say no. It's gonna be like, yes. Be like, all right, well, if we come out here, it's all going to take 15 minutes, but I have a couple quick questions. May I ask you? And you go into the questions. They're like, yes, I can ask you. You got to get them in the habit of saying yes. So then when you catch like 2 or 3 yeses in a row, you just turn around and be like, all right, well, is 6 o'clock better for you or 7 o'clock better for you tonight? Which time? And it's going to be hard for them to kind of say no, like, oh, well, we can do like this. Like if they say bring me a buyer, then you just got to have an objection handler ready. Like, oh well, listen, and I'm very straight to the point. If they say bring me a buyer, I'll be like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, no offense, that's not the way I practice my business. Can I share why? Oh well, why don't you practice like that? Like, I want to get my house sold, and you have buyers, and then be like, hey, listen, when I bring a buyer to the house, in the past, and this is I would bring him to the house. I don't have an agreement with you. I don't have an agreement with them, and it will go behind my back. I lost business. Or hey, listen, you know what? The buyer actually likes the house, and for double my effort and double my troubles and more legal responsibilities and so on and so forth, and I get less pay at the end of the day if I bring a buyer because I'm gonna end up doing your job. So do you see how unfair that is for me? So like typically what we do is we market advertise our properties to you and we bring buyers in and I'll tell you my secret. They're like, what's your secret? Be like, I get paid more money. So do you want somebody that's working for you or do you want somebody that just posted out there, blah, 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 and you go. It's just like, just bring them to your light of why that like you're going to show the value. And then you'll be like, well, that kind of makes sense. Like, I don't want you working extra and so on and so forth. But I know people are starting to head out right now at 3 o'clock. Is there anything else you want to say, Dean, before we cut?
Well, they just, I don't know how much, I mean, we have like maybe one more minute here. There's a question that said, how do you eliminate distractions while prospecting? Thank you for the question. I mean, I don't know what distractions you have, but like what, everyone's different, right? So the easiest distraction that I know agents suffer from what I've seen even in my own life and also in general is your own phone.
Yep.
It's your own cell phone that you have a distraction, because we have these things here. These are computers. We're literally carrying around computers all day. Like, imagine a laptop in your pocket all day. That's why I said to pin the hottest leads you have in your phone on that text message thread, because if you don't and they're not top of mind, you will lose so much business that way. And when I started implementing that was it. So you eliminate it by, well, first off, how bad do you want this? I mean, I have to set that foundation, because if you want to prospect at the highest levels possible, and it becomes fun after a while, but no one gives it enough time to allow it to be that fun. I mean, look at Rich and I talking about this for like the last hour, over an hour now. It's like we can just, because we've lived this, and the way to eliminate it to me is get rid of the phone, put it on silent, put on do not disturb. It might be uncomfortable. Oh my gosh, what if I miss a deal blowing up? What if I have a question from a sign call? Guys, who cares? You have outbound time and there's inbound time. Just relax and just move on. You know, if you want it bad enough, you will figure out this way to eliminate everything. And that, by the way, distractions also could be what you have going on in your personal life. I have 3 kids.
Tell them what you did to eliminate your distraction, where you physically are standing right now.
Oh yeah. Well, you guys can't see it here. I have 3 offices now. And actually, who's on this call? I think Celine from Seattle. She visited me. Everyone say hi, Celine. She visited me. Hey, she visited me from Seattle to just shadow me for an entire week. I was very grateful for that, but like, great, okay. And the one thing that she realized was that I have a prospecting station where I'm at right now, off of the highway to where I go to my other office. So I have my own little space here. No one touches me in here. I can lock my door. The only thing I have is my phone, obviously. But yeah, like, you have to build an environment around you that is distraction free. Because I'm telling you guys, all your production money issues that you guys are, that if anyone is going through that, like I got with EXP, I'm ready to go. Let's fire up. I'm ready to like take over the world. And you still want to make a lot of money. If you just stick to 8 to 12 in the morning, 5 days a week, and do nothing else but outbound, nothing else, in the next 3 to 6 months, Anna, Celine, everyone on this call, I am telling you, your financial life will change. It's a guarantee. And Rich and I are living examples. C students. We're not even the smartest. I didn't go to Berkeley, Anna, like you know what I mean, or wherever you went with your music school. Like, I mean, really, we are just normal guys, and we just figured out this way of doing it now more eloquently, and we have a strategy around how to do this at the highest levels, and that's where we basically come from. So distractions are a big thing. I have 3 kids. I get it. Like, this is it's a real problem. Trust me. But my wife will tell you guys, if you ever ask her, she'll be like, you know, what did I do the day that my oldest daughter broke her leg? Because my phone was blowing up. I was prospecting and lead follow-up because I was so focused, and I got to it later. But hey, what? You know, I have a great wife, and she took care of it. Like, get your other stuff together, and then you can be on the phones. But we allow chaos to happen around us, and then we don't, and we wonder why we're not able to focus.
So
take care of your other stuff.
To answer your question with the distractions, that was like years ago. I had that same issue, right? I'll be prospecting, I'll be on social media, I'll be checking my emails, my admin will walk in the door, I have a conversation. You know, one of the agents out there would try to have a conversation. I would embark. It would be dialing, but I wouldn't be physically where it is. Now, when I prospect, where my 2 feet are, it's exactly where I am when I'm prospecting. And one of the things is, yes, I do have 2 phones. I prospect on that phone. So like I'm really limiting the distractions. But on my main phone, I downloaded this app. It's called Opal, OPAL. And it is an app where you go in and you can make the difficulty level really high. You can make it really easy. I have it extremely high. So from 8 a.m., it's actually 8:15 a.m. till 12:15. I have it blocked off where I can't look at my text messages. I can't look at my emails. All my social media channels are blocked. Literally, if I go on my phone and I click on the app, it's like blacked out, and you can't click on it. So I had to do that to start eliminating those distractions. So, because what happened, I'll be on social media, somebody would pick up the phone, I'm like, oh, it's not a great call, right? So you have to be able to do that. So distractions, that's why I eliminated it from my cell phone. And then, like Dean said, is like, look, my door closes. When it's closed, nobody's allowed to open it. You open the door, it must be something burning on the other side that you're going to distract me at this point of my career, right? But yes, distractions are real. But what's real is if you let the distraction in, that means your mindset's not strong enough, and you have to kind of work on that philosophy first before you can take on the other side of it. But download that app because it was actually a game changer for me because it literally blocks it off. So like if I'm prospecting and I do grab my real cell phone that all my business is on, it's actually like basically useless. Obviously we're on the computers and there's still other things, but you can download the app for your computer too if you really don't want to. But that helped me out. And yeah, coming up with distractions is just be cognizant of it. And if you want how I figured it out, I wrote down my day, exactly what I was doing hour by hour, and I did that for a week. And then I just kind of paid attention. And you got to be truthful to yourself. I looked at where the distractions are. I wrote down when people interrupted me. I'm not answering any agent calls during that time, anything with my listings, anything with my sellers. It is pure, I'm finding business, quote unquote. I'm hunting for business. And then in the afternoon is when I'm doing lead follow up. I'm talking to my sellers. I'm talking to anybody who needs to get a hold of me is when I'm talking to them in the afternoon.
Anthony, you have a question? I don't know how much time we got, but Anthony, go ahead.
Just a quick question. You guys keep saying 8 a.m. to noon. How do people take when you call them at 8 a.m.? That's
Where
that's
are
an
you based out of,
interesting
Anthony?
hour out of San Francisco,
Okay.
California. Yep.
Okay.
8 8 a.m. is
Well, can
yeah,
I
would love to
let you
hear.
in on a little secret too?
Yes. Uh-huh.
I actually call it 7:55 usually. So
Okay.
how is that
Early
possible?
bird
I
gets
know,
the worm.
we can have these different things. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we have to look at the way I would answer that. I mean, Rich, you give an answer, but is are you saying because you feel uncomfortable calling that early? Is that right?
Well, no, so I'm an early bird, so I'm
Okay.
up and I'm ready to call at 8 a.m. I just don't, how do the people out there feel about it when you guys call them at 8 a.m.?
I mean, the good news is I usually get the best conversations between. Can I tell you there's 3 different times in the week that I've found to be the best pickup rate and the
Yes.
best conversations. And yes, thank you for saying that you're feeling comfortable. This is a real problem. I know. I totally understand that, but it is in your mind. You are making up a story that people don't want to hear from you at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm just being, and we've tested this out. I mean, 500,000 cold calls maybe in my prospecting calls in my career, minimum, I would say. Like I've beat the phone to a pulp, and I've tested out different hours and different days. 8 to 9 a.m. is the first hour. That is the best time to call. Okay. The next one is 5:30 to 6:30 at night, and 2 hours at 9 to 11 in the morning on Saturday. and I mean, yeah, but the reality is
Giselle's comment.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. Well, I mean, it's a real thing. I mean, it's just like you see the results, and we were very fortunate that we saw people in our market. So Jersey is a very big, like in my area specifically, EDBM doesn't work in our area. I've tried it. Big team leaders here have tried it. Doesn't work. So direct mail's out the window. I can't door knock. The only thing we can do in my vertical market of Hoboken and Jersey City is to call. So we either have to get really good or you have to step away and do some other source. I know there's been great agents here that are also from the same market, I think, and they figure out a way. Maybe they're good at open houses. But the whole thing is, the point of what I'm trying to say is, Anthu, is that, yeah, it's like, it's all in your mind.
And I was like that for years, just so you know. I would not pick up the phone.
That's true.
Before 9 a.m. Very early on in my career for 4 or 5 years, I wouldn't, before 9 a.m. was unheard of coming from me. So I would do like 9 to 12. But then I realized as time went on, it's 8:45, then it was 8:30, and it was 8:15. Now it's 8 a.m. And Dean's right. I have the best conversations before 9 a.m. And it's just a thought process, because if somebody is like, oh my gosh, why are you calling me? Well, chances are you're either catching them driving to work, so they're up, right? They're either getting their children ready. So once again, they're up. Very small percentage of the world is sleeping till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, I mean, in the morning. It's either that they worked the overnight shift, so they got home late. So then, yeah, you are waking them up, but chances are they're not going to pick up the phone. And anybody who picks up the phone, they're up. So at the end of the day, it's just a false belief in your head that, oh, 8 a.m. is too early to call. Like, no, it is a perfect time to call. And if somebody says, oh my gosh, you're calling me so early, just have a rebuttal back. Like I normally what I say is like, oh my gosh, I thought I was calling you so late. And then they laugh, and then you start having a conversation. Or I'd be like, oh, you know what? My child woke me up this morning really early at 5 o'clock. So I've been up since 5 o'clock. So I've just been waiting to make a phone call this morning. And you just gotta make it fun and kind of like banter it back. Like one thing I would say is that if you think that's gonna happen and you're gonna call at 8 a.m., every person you call around 8 a.m. is going to all say that. But if you think in my head, like, hey, listen, I need this, I'm the best agent, this person needs me, and you're going with that perception, you are 100% are going to get those type of people that are going to pick up the phone that want to do business with you, as crazy as it sounds. And then how do you drill it into your mindset? Years and years and years of years and years of practicing. I would say that, like, don't go so dramatic if you haven't done 1 hour. And I would just work it into your schedule. Start small, do 30 minutes somewhere, and get in the habit. 8 to 8:30, 8:30 to 9, 9 to 9:30, whatever. 11 a.m. to 11:30. Just get in the habit of doing it, and then start adding time on. Because if you do 4 hours in the morning, then you're gonna get 4 hours worth of prospecting results. Is what you're gonna get at. And if you're not getting those results, then it's kind of what you're saying. You gotta work on that. But I would start very, very small and start teetering it up from there, and just figure out what time works for you. If it's 8 a.m., great. If it's 9 a.m., great. If it's 6 p.m., it's fine. Just start somewhere.
Yeah. Well, if anyone wants to join us tomorrow, we'll be at the Jersey Shore prospecting together. This isn't like something we just talk about. This is, we are living this day by day. So Rich and I are going to have a full day prospecting session, which is 8 to 12 and then 3 to 6. Yeah, that's 7 hours. Yeah. Yeah, that's a real thing. So guys, you could do it. Yeah, you guys can do it. And just know that there's a lot of it. If you want to hit us up after this, we can go, talk about anything. See us on Phone Warriors if you would like. And yeah, guys, this has been great. Any other questions, just let us know.
Thank you, guys.
Rock on.
Thank you for this. This is great.
Take care, guys.
Thank you, Dean.